I'm shining. I'm shining. I'm shining.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Shepherd with the Heart of Humanity Show. The Heart of Humanity Show is a weekly segment that brings to the world the messages for humanity that reside in the hearts of humanity. We'll connect with souls across the earth who have discovered the message contained deep within their heart. I'll ask each soul about the message that lies within their heart, what it means to them on a personal level, and how they envision it can impact the rest of humanity. Each week we'll have a different guest who will share their heart's message for humanity in detail to aid in the illumination, inspiration, and integration of these messages in the hearts and minds of as many people as possible. Before I introduce today's guest, I'd like to begin with an intentional prayer. I am so grateful for the opportunity to get another heart's message for humanity out to humanity. I ask that all human messages find their way here. I further ask that the dear soul here with me today and myself be made pure vessels for the message of love and the heart wisdom that is coming forward at this time. And for all this and so much more, I am deeply grateful. So let's get started. Today, I am excited to bring you a guest from Canada. Troy Payne is an inspirational speaker, international best-selling author, and recording artist. He started his career as a youth and family counselor with the intention of helping people to overcome adversity. In 2004, he launched his company, Wellness Realization, and began speaking professionally. Troy has dedicated himself to encouraging, engaging, and empowering youth and adults to overcome adversity and to find resilience. He released his book, The Road to Resiliency, in 2011, which quickly became an international bestseller. And as you can see, all of that is so exciting, and that's why I'm so excited to introduce to you Troy Payne. You want to say hi to everybody, Troy?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Cynthia.
Glad you're here. I love your voice, too. I have to just add that. It's a very rich and heartwarming voice. So do you want to start off by sharing your message with humanity with everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. My message for humanity is stepping out of the darkness into your light.
Wonderful. So can you tell us how you came upon this as your message for humanity? What is it that brought this into and out of your heart?
I've been playing with this concept of leaving the darkness and entering the light for a few years now. For me, it means it has so many possibilities. It has so many different meanings. Stepping out of the darkness is like stepping out of the stories that we've been telling ourselves. And stepping into the light is stepping into our truth, or stepping into our highest selves. It could also be stepping out of our past and into the present. But the biggest part of it, which I believe just ties into your show so lovely, is stepping out of our mind and dropping into our heart space.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I love that there are multiple meanings to these various heart messages that are coming forward in our guests. So thank you for illuminating all of those. I have one that came to my mind as you were speaking, where I've been playing a lot recently with the emotions and how thoughts can bring us down and spiral us into that hopeless feeling, and how, all we need to do is to reach for the light. All we need to do is point ourselves, in our mind, in our thoughts, or in physical reality, finding something that's uplifting and moving from anything that's going to pull us down and move from that into the light. So that came to my mind as well. I don't know if that's similar, to one of the ones that you said, but it was so profound. I saw in my mind's eye someone in the water being pulled down by the currents and just reaching their head up and treading water and then reaching to come out. And so that image is floating around in my being. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Absolutely. And it does. It ties exactly into what I was talking about. Our thoughts they're generated in the mind. And the mind is a place where fear resides. And the heart is a totally different space of receiving information, of sending out information, of interpreting energy or what's going on around us. And that's really where we want to be as much as we possibly can. The mind plays so many tricks and tells us so many stories. It can be a scary place, which is why I use the word darkness.
I really love your comment about, the mind being a place where the fear resides and your heart is where all this potential and power resides. Actually, that's the word that you use a lot, is empowerment. It sounds like from everything I've heard about you. And I feel that is our power place, that when we can be in our heart, not only is it empowering, it's powerful. And when we can be in that place of the heart, not only are we powerful, but it's like we have that added element of peace and love and joy. And what we create from that place of power is so positive. So when we get in the mind, it's a power trip. But when we get in the heart, it's this uplifting power, this place of empowerment.
That's beautiful. One of the things that I've been teaching over these last few years is heartfelt leadership, and trying to get people to understand that leading from this heart space it doesn't make you weak or vulnerable. If anything, it's the opposite. It really puts you into your power. It enables you to inspire a shared vision. It enables you to see the light in other people and encourage them and lift them up to be the best that they can be. It's such a more powerful place than leading from the mind.
Oh, I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. And I hope that we have many people who hear this interview and get to receive that important piece of information. It's so true. And when we do find these empowered leaders, these heart-centered leaders, it does seem that we're actually finding that they're creating the people that will then come into leadership in the years ahead. So they're nurturing future leaders. So it's a brilliant concept, and it has such a long-lasting and powerful impact on the planet. So thank you for doing what you're doing. So that kind of leads into the thought about, what do you see that this message that you bring forward, what do you see that it can actually bring to the world? How do you see that it can influence people and encourage them to do exactly what it says, to step out of the darkness and into the light?
Yeah, I really see it as an opportunity for a shift in consciousness right now, a shift from how we have typically been embracing leadership, whether that's within corporate structures, whether that's in the political realm, whether that's in our communities. We're seeing these heartfelt leaders as authentic, genuine people who are compassionate and in it for the right reasons. And I think more and more people, as we open up to this, we're not going to settle for what's been done in the past or how leadership has evolved in the past. We're ready to embrace this new way of thinking, this new way of taking on what needs to be taken on. So that's really my hope or my intention of encouraging people to step out of their darkness and step into their light.
Right. It is a pivot point. It's like it's a decision that they need to make. And by saying this statement, if they would adopt your heart message for humanity as like a mantra, a personal mantra, it would help to remind them more and more frequently to take the more light-filled or more empowering choice or path. and therefore, it could be used as a tool. It really seems like a helping hand, that if you can offer somebody that idea in the various moments of their day to step out of the darkness and choose the light, or step into the light, then the more they hear it, the more that they will build that muscle to react that way. We need to have it be our natural reflex to reach for the light instead of the fear thoughts and the darkness and the things that didn't work in the past and that have brought our planet and our personal lives down.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as people are incorporating that into their own lives or using it as a mantra, we don't need to be afraid or put too much judgment around the darkness, because the battle of light and darkness has been happening for thousands of years, and we all have darkness in us. The empowering part is we're able to step out of that at any time that we choose to. We're able to release our old stories. We're able to step out of our fears and our self-limiting thoughts and self-defeating behaviors.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I don't think we could raise that thought high enough. Thank you for saying that. Do you have things that you've personally experienced with using this practice? I feel like your whole life may be a reflection of this message for humanity. But do you have something specific that you can give as an example of how you found a way to use it in your personal life? How do you use it in your personal life?
Mm-hmm. Well, how much time do you have? Because I use it in...
You just go right ahead and tell me all you have to tell me.
Yeah. When I started this journey of wanting to inspire and encourage other people, I used my own personal story of childhood abuse and neglect and addictions and foster care, and I tell this really sad, painful story. And what I've come to realize is that for a long time, or for the beginning part of my career, that was a really wonderful way of connecting with people to get them to relate to their own challenges and adversities. But as my own healing continued to occur and my own spiritual growth and awareness, I realized that my story is really not significant. Every single person on the planet has a story to tell. So one of the ways I've been using this stepping out of the darkness into the light is, for me to step out of the darkness, it's really me releasing my old story. And when I say releasing the old story, I'm saying I'm releasing the energy of the pain, the drama, the fears, the sadness. I've completely let go of that. And now I'm really learning and stepping into, who am I really? Like, yes, all that bad, sad stuff happened to me, but who am I? What have I learned from those experiences? And when we talk about what have I learned, it's we can find so many beautiful learnings in the pain.
So true. There are a lot of people out there now who are really getting that if we can release the emotion around the pain, we can find the lesson in the pain. So it's not so much that we can necessarily forget our story or take it out of our memory bank, but it's more about taking that the heightened emotion out of it and allowing the actual information that can be gleaned from the experience to fill us and light us up and motivate us to bigger and better things in our lives. So that seems to be that, the definition of resiliency, although I'd offer you a platform to also give us any other definition of resiliency. But when you can use your story as a catalyst for good rather than a repeating or a dragging down in your life and a continuation of the pain, that to me seems like the essence of resiliency. Do you have any other part that you want to add to that kind of a definition for resiliency?
Yeah, I do, and I want to say that I completely agree with you. It's not about forgetting our stories. I think we can still honor where we've come from, but we don't have to let it dictate or determine where we're going. And so for a definition of resiliency, it's really our ability to be transformed by all of the adversities that we've faced. That's what resilience is, our ability to overcome or be transformed by the adversities that we endure.
Oh, that's beautifully said. Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad that we got that into this show, too, so that people can feel the fullness of that. I think that's something that we all desire and sometimes resist. I know, just to kind of touch back a little bit on that fear piece, it does seem that our comfort zone gets in the way of our expansion at times, and we're familiar with our story. It's known to us, and that's then what's comfortable to us, even if it's uncomfortable. It's a sort of a divine paradox. We can be uncomfortable with our comfort or comfortable with our discomfort. And so to really find our way to release that without dishonoring it, as you were saying, that word honor to me is really a beautiful and powerful and wonderful word. And so to really honor the story, and again, maybe that's in good part taking out the emotion of it or the trauma of it and using the message of it, the learning of it, the essence of it to propel us into our most beautiful aligned selves. I think that's that transformation, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we begin healing from and slowly releasing the energy of our stories, the energy then shifts. And I like to use the analogy of if you can visualize a staircase up a lighthouse, kind of a winding staircase. And when we're at the bottom of the staircase, we can see our stories, we can see our stuff, and it's really big and it can be overwhelming. And as we begin to heal, we start to walk up the staircase, and then all of a sudden we're looking down at the bottom where our stories are. And the more we heal and the higher we climb up, that energy is less and less and less. We see less of it. And we begin to shift and really release what's been holding us back from being where we really want to be.
Yes, and when you get to the top of that lighthouse, you can really shine your light, which is another great way to think about that lighthouse analogy. I love that image. Troy, as a life coach, I have talked to many people, and the first thing that I do with every client is, of course, ask them to fill me in on what they want to go over, and I hear their story. That's inevitably what happens is I hear their story. And immediately, it seems, upon them starting to tell the story, they also start to hear where the story has its claws in them. They start to get it even before we even get into the actual coaching. And it's amazing when we really start to look at our story and tell it. We can feel the heaviness of it. We can feel the drama of it. We can feel the part of it that's no longer true. And eventually, it seems we get to the point where we can feel what's ready to be let go of. Have you had that experience with what you've been doing with this message for humanity and with your work with humanity?
Yes, definitely. Most of the people that I've worked with over the years, I've really noticed that their stories, they define them as individuals. And it isn't until we're ready to start to let go of our stories that the real healing can begin.
Yes, that's kind of what I see. When a person hires a coach, they're actually ready to let go of whatever's going on. And so as they tell their story, they begin to have that self-awareness. I think that's the part that is so amazing, too, is as we gain self-awareness, we get more and more that desire to heal. And as we heal more, we get more self-awareness. So there's like a little cycle that begins to happen, and as you follow that, you bring yourself up and up and up into the light.
That's beautiful. And it's so true. That's what it takes. It takes people to finally come to this place in their life when they're ready to let go of these old stories. And these stories are so powerful when you think about it. We're all born into other people's stories. We're born into our parents' stories of how they've experienced the world and what they believe in, and you know what love is and what money is, and we adopt these, and then we create our own stories as we begin our journeys of adolescence and adulthood. And sometimes we have to pause and ask ourselves, is this my truth, or is this a story that I've been telling myself?
Right.
And if it's a story, then hopefully we get to the place where your clients are at, where they're like, okay, I'm ready to let go of this story.
Well, and I encourage our listeners to really contemplate, you know, is the story something that you're clinging to because you're wanting the acceptance or approval of the people that are in your lives? And is it really a good thing for either person, you know, you or the other person? And it could be an invitation for the other person as well to follow you and to be uplifted and bring more light into their life as well. So sometimes we stay in those places that are uncomfortable and painful because of what we feel we'll lose if we move away from that story. But sometimes releasing that story brings us our greatest joy, and we get to bring people along with us. And the other thought I had was that, you know, you don't have to release your story all at once. If you want to believe some of it for a while, or if it helps to remember and re-experience it for a while, it's okay. It's all about your own personal timing. But if you can begin to leave the darkness behind, to step out of the darkness and into that light and let yourself be illuminated and transformed, you'll find the experiences so rewarding.
Yeah. And that's really what we're talking about when we use the stepping out of the darkness into the light. As I mentioned early in the interview, the darkness is the mind, and that's where the stories reside. The stories, they're past. They live in the mind and continue to repeat themselves over and over through the mind. But the heart space, those stories don't reside there. We feel the emotions of our story, and we think that's coming from our heart space, but that emotion is also coming from the mind.
Yes, that's right. And so once we can see through that illusion, we can actually start to separate that from fiction and into reality and fact. So that's brilliantly said. Thank you. Is there anything else you can share with us, particularly how you're moving this message out into the world, perhaps? We heard at the outset of the show that, you know, you're doing a lot of different things. I mentioned to people that you're an inspirational speaker, an international best-selling author, and a recording artist. So you have music that you've actually been creating as well to get these messages out. How do you find these different mediums create different ways for this message to get out? Can you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, I find them so exciting and so rewarding. I know for me, in my own healing journey, from being a young child, music was the most powerful form of storytelling that I knew of, and I still believe that to this day. And so to be able to talk about the things that you and I are talking about right now, but through song, is just so exciting. And I know that for so many people who deeply resonate with music, it's a beautiful way for them to really integrate these types of messages of leaving the darkness and stepping into the light and dropping into our heart space. I write songs about healing, and some of my songs are about our pains and our fears and our struggles and our frustrations. And some of my songs are about healing from those pains and sadnesses and frustrations. And some of my songs are simply about celebrating this life and incorporating gratitude into our life and really being present with where we are in this moment.
yes, and I hear that variety that you have and the depth and breadth of the messages that you're bringing forward in your music. And it just really resonates with me how important all those different types of music are to our evolution, to our healing, to our finding our way to the light. If I have a day where I'm down, I actually don't want to hear sad music usually. But if there's some emotion that's been playing around inside of me and I can't quite get past it, sometimes, I'll watch a movie that will, one of those that's a tearjerker to get me crying, or something that's super funny to get me laughing, in order to get the movement that helps me to release what's been stuck. So having these different ways to create music and the different song themes, it sounds like it's just a wonderful healing tool. So we're going to try and send some people your way, Troy.
Yeah. Our band is called Aside from Sorrow, and we've released 2 albums, and they're both about these journeys that we're on, and they're about healing and finding the peace and love that we're all seeking.
Wonderful. Well, we are getting to the end of our show. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
Thank you for the opportunity. As I think back of what we've been talking about, a lot of it has been around the stories that we've been telling ourselves, or the stories that we've been holding on to. And the stories are typically the painful ones. They're the adversities, the challenges, the obstacles that we've been faced with. And those adversities, they've created scars in our lives. And for some of us, we've been walking around with emotional scars, maybe right from childhood to this very day. And some of us, unfortunately, even have physical scars. And those scars are only there to remind us of where we've been in this life, but they don't have to determine or dictate where we're going.
I totally agree. That is such a profound thought, and I do hope that it serves as an upliftment to the people that are listening to this show, so that those scars don't end up being self-fulfilling prophecy or something that continues to be opened and reopened again and again, but can really just be honored and acknowledged and a part of the past that doesn't have to create the future. So I do thank you, Troy, for being on the show today and sharing your message for humanity from your heart to the rest of the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you for this opportunity to connect with you and all the beautiful people listening to this program.
And I encourage all of our listeners to find more about Troy. His information can be found at his website. It's www.wellnessrealization.net, not .com. So you can find a lot of interesting little video clips about him and about his experiences and about his work. And then, of course, we're going to also provide some links on our website to his website and to a couple of other sites that will get you samples of his music so that you can hear that as well. I'm looking forward to the spreading of your message, Troy. And I encourage all of our listeners to tune in as much as possible, as each guest's message for humanity is different and all uplifting. You can find out more about the Heart of Humanity Speaks project at my website, www.cynthiashepherd.com. If you would like to share your heart's message for humanity with the world, there are several ways to do this. You can go to the Heart of Humanity Speaks project page on Facebook, and please like our Facebook project page and share this project with others, as many hearts are wishing to share their message for humanity at this time. Our goal is to gather 1 million of these messages, so we're hoping you will be one of our 1 million. You can also post your message on the Heart of Humanity forum, where you can dialogue with others about your message and about theirs. You can find links to the forum and to the Facebook page on my website. And there is also a heartofhumanityspeaks.com website with some information about posting your message as well. So thank you again, Troy, And dear listeners, we close another show, grateful that you paid us a visit and already eager to connect with you again. We hope you are feeling uplifted and inspired, and that you'll spread the word about the Heart of Humanity radio show and the Heart of Humanity Speaks project around the world. And until next time, blessings and namaste.
Namaste.
I'm shining.